Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second instalment of the She Network webinar. We're here to support and elevate our fellow peers working in higher education, marketing, comms, and creative. There's no rule book, just a safe place for us to share and lift each other up. And today's webinar is all about celebrating cheerleaders who have helped us on our own journey and have made a big impact on our own success. I'm joined today by Simone Davis, co-founder of She, Trina Everall and Louise Wood, founding partners. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi.
Morning, or even afternoon.
So I guess the first thing to ask, it's Monday morning. How was everyone's weekend? Trina, I hear your feet are hurting after a good weekend.
Yes. I went to a wedding reception, which was a lot of fun. It was with a huge number of old friends, people that I used to work with actually in my news and media days. And the highlight, I suppose, was probably that we had a drum and bass DJ. So there was just like a dance floor full of people aged 40 plus having a full-on rave to classics from the 90s and noughties. So yeah, I've got quite sore feet.
Yeah, that sounds epic. What about you, Louise? It was a birthday weekend, I hear. Was there dancing for you?
It was my birthday weekend. No dancing, but a few cocktails. And obviously I've got two little ones, so there was picnics in the park during the day and cocktails in the evening. So yeah, it was lovely, and it was nice to be back down in London, where I'm originally from before I emigrated up to the northwest. So yeah, it was lovely catching up with people.
Oh, lovely, and happy birthday.
Thanks.
Simone, what about you? How was your weekend?
It's wedding season, isn't it? I was also at a wedding, a family wedding, and saw relatives who came from across the globe. So that was lovely. And it just made me think about how important it is to get that balance. So often we're focused on work. It's Monday to Friday, often more than Monday to Friday, but actually taking the time to re-energize with family and friends. So yeah, I feel really good after that weekend.
All sounds very wholesome. My weekend wasn't quite a wedding or a celebration. I took the kids, so I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. I took them to the open air museum it's called the Chiltern Open Air Museum. Lots of old houses that have been reconstructed, and they have lots of events there, and people are in character. And myself and my wife found it really, really interesting, but I'll be honest, the kids just wanted to go on the playground the whole time. So we probably only covered about 10% of it. So I'm going to go back on a day off. I think that's the plan.
Did you have to take it in turns so that you could go and look at the house while
yeah, at one point I just left her and the kids to go see, like, I think it was like an old Iron Age. Oh, it was fabulous. But yeah, it's I think that's always the way with young kids. When you go to somewhere that's an attraction, you just make peace with it. You're not actually going to see the attraction, but you will see the playground, and if there's a sandpit, that's the day.
So when they get older, they'll just ask, what's the Wi-Fi code?
Yeah. Yeah, there is that. Goodness. Yeah, hopefully that's a few years off yet. Fab. Okay, so I'm looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be very wholesome. We're going to celebrate people that have really helped us, and yeah, just share our stories and experiences. I must admit, I found it hard to whittle this one down because there's moments in my career where people have played a really pivotal kind of role in giving me confidence and raising a hand. But there were two people, I'm sorry, I've cheated already. There were two people that I wanted to talk about. And it was really when I was starting Prompt. Trina, as you'll know, setting up your own business, that first day, you've got a blank sheet of paper. You're thinking, goodness, how am I going to build something from nothing? Who do I call first? How do I get an intro here? And how do I do this? And it was very much starting from the beginning. And I knew that I wanted to work in the social media landscape. There was a real opportunity there, and really enjoyed content and strategy. And there was a woman within my area who had a great reputation and really knew her stuff on social and was doing things with big brands. But I'm just going to call her up, and I'm going to see if she fancies working with me on some projects and maybe get some advice. I was quite nervous about calling her because she might be like, well, why are you calling me? You're a competitor. You're trying to do what I'm doing. Her name's Michelle Carville. She's very successful, has her own business. I think she's actually a sim course provider, and she does training with them. I called her up and I kind of just asked about a million questions in a minute. And she probably spent an hour talking me through what she did when she started her business, how she approached it. She gave me enormous confidence in myself, and I just couldn't believe how much of her time and knowledge she gave to me in that hour. And as a result, we ended up working on many projects. We were a double act for a couple of years, actually. We worked on some really fun stuff together. And I learned a lot from her, and I hadn't had any role models, female role models that had started their own business. So it was really great to see somebody that had done it and been successful. So got to give a shout out to Michelle. The other person that I wanted to give a shout out to is Julia Weston at UCL. I know Trina's nodding. It's a mutual friend and connection there. When I started Prompt, again, I remember going over to her for lunch, and I was talking through my plans, and she actually made some intros to people in the sector, because when you're starting your own business and trying to get a foot in and trying to get new business, it's hard to do that cold. And she was like, well, actually, I think you'd be a great fit for this person. And she made some calls, and actually the first big bit of business we won was because of an intro she made to a vice chancellor at a university. And it was about 3 or 4 months into starting the business, and we had some money coming in, but it was really, really small. And I thought, goodness, am I going to be able to survive and actually grow this? And the university in question sent me an email saying, we'd like to confirm this project and campaign. And I actually remember crying, and I was like, oh my God, I really, really needed this to happen. I called Maggie in, and she was celebrating, the dogs were barking. And it was just, in those moments, those two women just really, really helped me launch something. And I look back and I'm just so thankful to them. Yeah, so thank you, Michelle and Julia. That one's for you. So I guess moving around the group, Trina, is there anyone that stands out to you in your career that's really helped?
Yeah, I've got my number one cheerleader is Deborah Lawson, and she was at the time my boss at The Guardian, and she was the director of business development in education recruitment. And I started my career in news and media in recruitment advertising, and I was in charge of working with universities to help them place adverts in the paper back then, to recruit for positions within universities. But I knew nothing about universities. Like, I'd never been to university. I didn't know anything about the hierarchy of departments. I didn't really know anything about the departments. Like, I just felt completely out of my depth. But I did it. I got on with it. I was desperate to have this job, and I had a really great boss. So yeah, I would go and visit these universities, and I would talk to the recruitment advertising managers, the HR departments, but I just wasn't very happy. And Debs knew that there was something wrong, and she took me to one side one day and she said, look, what's going on? You're clearly not happy, but I know that you really want this job. And I explained to her that, I'm working with universities. I've never been to university. I'm more interested in student recruitment rather than staff recruitment, because that's something that I feel could really make a difference to someone's life, in the way that, I guess I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder that it wasn't something that I had fulfilled. And here I was, like, visiting these amazing campuses. And she said, okay, well, next time you go to a university and you speak to a HR representative, I want you to make a meeting with the director or head of marketing, whoever you can speak with, and then come back to me and talk to me about how we could make this work at The Guardian. And so I did, and I came back, and this developed further and further, to the point where she said, okay, we're going to sit down with the education editor at The Guardian, and we're going to come up with some kind of business proposition where we partner universities with our education editorial team, and we create content partnerships. And she helped me write a business plan for this, which we presented back to our directors at The Guardian, and it went all the way up to the CEO. And lo and behold, they allowed me to start this with a small target, And what started as a team of one turned into a team of 6 or 7. It was a multi-million-pound part of the business. We provided advice and support for students and parents. And it just changed my life. Like she just knew that there was more for me to give. She knew that by talking with me and understanding what my interests were, that I could really get behind something that I was passionate about. And, you know, it's helped me throughout my life, because I don't think I would have started Story if I hadn't had experience of creating business plans and, you know, starting something from nothing. So I feel like I owe her a lot. And she's a great friend. She's still like a really good friend of mine.
Just listening to you, Trina and Marcella, you reminded me of something someone said to me, is that, and it was a woman, throughout life, we find unofficial mentors.
Oh.
And the people you're just describing sound exactly like that.
Yeah.
And this woman's unofficial mentor, and she told somebody else they needed to find an unofficial mentor. But it's really supportive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys, but there's certainly a group of women in my professional life that I know are in my corner, and that I know I could call them, you know, if I'm having a bad day or if I need advice, and or if I need that unofficial mentor, I know without judgment that I could kind of lean on them, and hopefully they know that they could lean on me. And it's that kind of sisterhood, isn't it, that is just so valuable in our working lives.
You've done it with me, Marcella. When I was first starting Story and I was trying to work out what to do, and you know, I think we were in the midst of the pandemic at that time. I chose to launch Story like the day before the pandemic, but the day before we went into lockdown. And I remember speaking with you, and you know, you gave me your time as well. We haven't actually talked about that for a while, but you know, I think it we'll probably talk about this, but like the knock-on effect that this has on you and the support that you then give other people is, you know, you've benefited from it, so you know it's going to support somebody else. And we probably don't think about those knock-on effects as much as we think about the people who helped us.
Oh, thanks, Trina. And it's nice to like normalize it, isn't it? And like you said, because you've experienced it, you want to give. And thinking about the Olympics, that amazing picture of Simone Biles, and I can't remember the lady who got bronze, bowing to the Brazilian who
that
was first.
amazing.
And it was like, oh my goodness, like women are amazing, aren't they? That we can celebrate somebody else's success in such a key moment of their careers. I was really touched by that photo.
Although one of my colleagues' sons thinks I am Simone Biles. Mummy, does Simone Biles work with you? Not quite.
That's brilliant. I say do it.
Roll with it.
I'll try.
And Simone, you kind of touched on being an unofficial mentor and the power of kind of people supporting you that way. What about in your career? Who stood out for you?
I think mentors come in many, cheerleaders, mentors, supporters come in really lots of different guises. I think really my mum to start with, giving me that belief that if there's something I want to do, that I can do it. And actually I was reflecting on it. So I think my mum probably was the originator of fake it till you make it. So the advice is always to say, yes, I can do that, and then find out how to do that, or ask somebody to show you how to do that. So I think that's kind of been a very good grounding. But also men, a lot of men in my career have been really good cheerleaders. Dominic being previous boss. And I think there's two things. One, took a chance on me into a contract role when I hadn't been a contractor before. And also telling me how well I'd done when I progressed from that role. And that's actually, sometimes you don't realise, do you? You just keep going, training the next goal, moving on. But actually somebody reflecting for you, I think it's really powerful.
Yeah, and I think it's great to call out our male allies there. I've certainly experienced that a lot in my career, and very much a hybrid. I say to our CEO a lot, I'm very grateful that they let me be me, you know, warts and all, because we all work in different ways, and you know, having the space to work how you want to and innovate how you want to, and if you've got an idea, yeah, go for it. Yeah, it just makes working so much more enjoyable.
It does.
What about you, Louise? Who's been your cheerleader?
Well, I was just reflecting really on what Simone said as well, because I certainly I've had people that have influenced, I think, some of the behaviors that I now, you know, sort of have in the workplace, and certainly as a manager. And my first ever role from leaving university was as a PA or secretary, whatever you want to call it, in terms of I literally just graduated, thought, right, I need a job, and I did that whole, hi, I've got a degree, and the recruitment agent was like, yeah, and have you got any experience? I was like, oh, no. Anyway, I landed this job as a personal assistant because I spoke French, because my mother's French, so I'm half French, and they wanted someone that could speak French. And the chap that I was PA to really shocked me in such a pleasant way, in that he would always introduce me as his colleague. Whereas I was also PA to another director who would say, this is Louise who works for me. And there's a real difference there when you're being introduced to colleagues. And I remember thinking that really stayed with me. And he taught me so much about sort of business etiquette and just kind of working collegially. So he's someone that really stands out. His name was Dr. Ray Arson. He was French Mauritian. And yeah, he was my first ever proper boss. And he really showed me the sort of respect and courtesy, really, and how to kind of carry that in the workplace. And then in terms of kind of from a more traditional cheerleader point of view, it would have to be Jane Thomas, and she is a fantastic marketing communicator who was my line manager when I worked for the NHS in Liverpool. And it was my first job since moving to the Northwest, and she basically taught me to want more, but as in it's okay to think about what else you want, because I was working in social marketing, so sort of, you know, behavior change and public health, and it was great, and I was just sort of plodding along, and she just said to me one day, so what's next? And I was like, what do you mean? You know, I hadn't thought about my career development. And she said, well, come on, you know, you're going to do CIM, you're going to do CIPR, what you're thinking, you're in the NHS, it's a great area for development, you get very supported, da, da, da. And she just suddenly opened up this idea of, actually, what do I want from my career? And it's okay to know that if you don't want to progress, you know, and you're happy doing the role that you're in, and what other kind of development. So she was just really good at identifying that I could give more, and that actually when I looked inside myself, I did want more. And I haven't looked back, and she's been a constant throughout my life, both, you know, seeing her personally outside of work, but also just checking in and being, like Simone said, that unofficial mentor. And she has just gone from strength to strength. And I guess ultimately she's someone that I think, oh, I want to be like you. Do you know what I mean? There's that sense of not just respect, but wow, you are just smashing it in life, just in all ways. So Jane Thomas is a ledge.
Oh my goodness, I want to meet all these people.
I know,
I think we need to get them all in a room, buy them a drink.
Yeah,
there's a theme running through, isn't there? And it's something that you don't always see, but it's a generosity of spirit.
Yeah.
So people being generous with their time, with their advice, with their support. I think that's really special.
Yeah, I really loved that what Louise was saying at the start there of, you know, being referred to as a colleague. And it's just it seems like such a small thing, but it's actually not. It's a huge thing. It's a huge thing to immediately be on a par with whoever you're in a conversation with, and to feel like you're an equal, even if I don't know, like the hierarchy of the official job titles would suggest something else. Like, that's so important. I think,
and especially at such a young age. You know, I was 21, and he was, you know, I don't know, 60s or something. You know, it was towards the end of his career, and a very important figure within this organisation. It was the laboratory of the government chemist, so it was sort of ex-civil service, and you know, it was lots of big kind of director type people coming in from overseas, and every time he would introduce me as his colleague, and I'd offer to sort of make the teas and coffees, and he'd say, no, I can make them. He said, it's actually a really good icebreaker when you're talking to someone. He said, I don't need a secretary to come in and take my tea and coffee order. And it was really good, as I say, lessons for me to learn, but it made me feel just as, like you say, equal, although I was a subordinate on an organization chart. In terms of, you know, working and as a colleague, and it was really interesting the way other people would refer to you as, yes, my sector, she works for me, and I just thought it really stood out.
Yeah.
That's something I think we can all take. Sorry, go on, Trina.
No, I was just going to say that's something that was always, it's really touched a nerve for me, because it's something I was always really conscious of with people that I managed as well. That I'd never been a manager. Well, of course, we've never been a manager at some point in our lives. But if you do then go on to manage a team, for me, it was like really about building a team, and that we were all working together. Whatever the achievement, it wasn't down to me and my team, it was down to us. Like, it was really important to me. It became like a bit of a joke where my one of the guys that was working on the team would refer to me as gaffer and boss in front of other people, just because he knew that, like, it made me squirm so much. But I think that I probably felt so strongly about it because I've had a combination of both great leaders who have also helped me feel like an equal and introduced me in the way that you described as a colleague. And also I've worked for some people who haven't, and who have made me feel like, you know, it's a bit like, you know, people talk about your parents and the things that they do and don't do, and then if you then go on and have children, like the things that you do and don't want to do with your children.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that that's like management, that people you manage are children, but do you know what I mean? It's like that kind of thinking of, you know, you learn hopefully lots of good things from some people, and you lose the bad things from other people.
Yeah.
We're all still a work in progress, aren't we? That's
Yeah.
And all, I think wherever you are in your career, having somebody in your corner, having that cheerleader, whether that's somebody who just naturally does that for you, or it's somebody you seek out to give you that, it's really important, and I don't think that goes away.
Yeah, I think as well, you know, sometimes we talk so much, don't we, about, there's all this, you know, research about women saying, oh, they were lucky and da, 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 da. And I don't think I'm lucky, because I work really hard, and I'd like to think I'm really good at my job. But where I feel fortunate is that I've managed to come across people who've identified my ability and have encouraged me along, or pushed me along to say, come on, you know, you can do more, and give you, you know, like Jane gave me a massive campaign to run, and I was like, what? And it was huge, and it was brilliant, and it made me realize, wow, I am really good, I can do all this great stuff. And it made me learn to sort of work with lots of different colleagues. And I think just in a nutshell, for me, someone summed it up, that because I really like some of the things that you've been saying, Simone, about, you know, it's kind of the phrases that we think about, unofficial mentors and being a work in progress. I think it's so true. And one of the things someone said to me once is, you have sort of two types of people. I mean, this is a massive sweeping generalization in colleagues, that the people that leave the ladder down to bring you up, and the ones that pull the ladder up behind them. And I've, since hearing that phrase, I think, oh yeah, you pull the ladder up, you do. You know, the types of people that you, and they don't just have to be managers. It can be, you know, people, you know, on the same level, or even, you know, in different areas of work. But yeah, that really summed it up for me. I thought, yeah, so I'm definitely a leave the ladder down, and I'd like to think.
I think the whole She Network has kind of been built based on leaving the ladder down, right? That's exactly what we want to do as a network, and our community and our followers. The whole purpose is for us to support everyone and to share whatever we can share. And the way I kind of see, I'm getting a bit existential here, but kind of life and you know, the journey of life is that we are all doing this together at this moment in our career. This is our lives. We're only doing it once. So let's support each other. Let's lift each other. We are the class of 2024 right now, and I'm sure we'll work together, hopefully for decades to come. But it can only be a good thing if we help each other out, and the experience will just be better for everyone.
I'd really like to hear people's stories as well, to hear how other people have had cheerleaders supporting them, and maybe we could even get to speak to them. You know, as Marcel said, we're a network, we're forming, this is early days, but the more we can do to amplify our voice as women in the sector, working with the sector, I think would be great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't we suggest that to anyone who's listening to this? If you want to tag somebody that you feel has been a great cheerleader in your career, you can pop it on our LinkedIn page, tag them in it, and tell us a bit about why, and we'll talk about that, and perhaps we can get some of these people on one of our discussions.
That would be brilliant.
That sounds like a fantastic next step, Trina. So if you're listening, please tell us, comment. If you don't want to comment, message us. It's just a really nice, wholesome opportunity to say thank you to those people that have really helped us. And as you can see, there's a lot to say, and we are keen to hear your thoughts and how you relate to all of our discussions. Do get in touch if you'd like to be involved in future discussions as well. We're very much at the beginning of this journey, thinking about topics, making sure they're relevant, and that we're discussing things that you want to hear about. So stay tuned for details. Again, be sure to follow, like and comment, go on this journey with us. And thank you so much for listening. So from all of us, bye for now.
Bye.
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 Bye.